Yes, Mr. President. Yes, no, absolutely. No, the banana zone has started. Yes, no, Bitcoin hit an all-time high. Next up, it's alts. It's the banana zone. But listen, I'm sorry, Mr. President, I have to cut you off. So I'll talk to you later. It's all started. It's the banana zone. It's all happening. It told you. Firstly, before we go into the charts about the banana zone, we're proving to you inflation is not the story. The tariffs were not the story. The story is and has been liquidity. And with bonds, there's a lack of liquidity in the bond market. So we have a liquidity that's driving scarce assets, stocks, Bitcoin, gold, crypto, but bonds which are not a scarce asset because guess what? They issue a fuck ton of bonds squared, and they keep issuing more and more bonds. So what happens is bond markets start rejecting the issuance. We're in the year of the everything code, which is my big thesis, that they need to roll the debt and therefore they need to get rates down. But as they roll the debt, rates get pushed up. Okay, great. The world's going to end according to X. It's all the worst thing. No, right? So Scott Bessent is a bond salesman. Donald Trump is a bond salesman. They're all bond salesmen. So anyway, so if bond yields get too high, Scott Bessent has already said, as the Fed have said, we will step in. I'll show you some charts about what happened in 2017. Last time we went through the same machinations of we're all going to die, Trump's going to ruin the world, and nothing actually happened apart from the markets, crypto, tech, equities, everything just went to the moon. It's the chart of M2 versus Bitcoin. This has been so tightly correlated, it's embarrassing. I keep saying maybe it was this easy all along. I've known it will be. I also know it will decouple later in the cycle and it'll decouple to the upside with Bitcoin outperforming global M2. That's how it works when the crowd come in, the herd get FOMO, they get greed. It actually starts outperforming. Then when the market flips, it eventually starts to underperform as fear kicks in. But at this point, it's really driven by liquidity. It gave us a 3 months heads up to exactly the correction. And yet Twitter said it's about tariffs, it's about the end of the world. It told you. It is telling you and told you it would be at all-time highs. I told you it would be at all-time highs by May. It tells you we should be over 140,000 by July. And you don't want to believe it. And then it will break down once you all do believe it. And it'll start outperforming, I think. But just generally, as a rule of thumb,
비트코인과 알트코인이 강하게 반등할 거라고 주장하는 라울 팔. 그는 골드만삭스 출신 투자 전문가이자 현재는 거시경제 분석을 통해 진짜 투자자들을 위한 깊이 있는 콘텐츠를 제공하는 리얼비전의 설립자입니다. 그런 그가 올해 7월 비트코인이 140K에 다다를 것이라며 그 이후로 유동성을 이야기했는데요. 근데 솔직히 전문가들 얘기 들으면 다 쉬워 보입니다. 그런데 막상 뛰어들면 현실은 다릅니다. 세력, 고래, 냉정한 시장 진짜 정보는 독점됩니다. 저희는 여러분이 5분 먼저 대응할 수 있도록 정보를 무료로 공개하고 있습니다. 하단 링크 클릭하고 함께 기회를 잡아봅시다. 본론으로 돌아와서 어째서 라울팔은 시장의 엄청난 유동성이 풀릴 것이라고 바라보는지 그 근거를 제시하며 이야기하고 있습니다.
It will work because it explains the asset moves, and I'll come on to that in a sec. Total global liquidity is 90% of the price move of Bitcoin since 2013. New all-time highs. It broke out, keeps doing this wedging pattern. That breakout always works. Why does it matter? 90%. So all you fuckers using other stuff, it's like it's this and that, and none of it is true. It is liquidity dominant, and then it's network adoption effects, which is the excess returns. So if global debasement is 8% a year by total global liquidity, that's how much it rises every year. That's how much they're debasing global currency, global fiat. The excess performance is network adoption, which is about 100 and something % a year on top with Bitcoin. When it comes to NASDAQ, well, it's 95%, and it varies between 95 and 97% correlation. The excess return is the adoption of the new technology. So in the adoption of the new technology in NASDAQ, which does about 18% a year, versus Bitcoin that does about 150% a year since 2013, tells you that the supermassive black hole is to own crypto. I know many of you in the stock market can't get your heads around it. 2017, those of you who were in the market then, it was a hell of a year for risk assets. I mean, crypto from the low Bitcoin from the low did a 23x that year. Now, Bitcoin won't, but something will. One of the large tokens will do something approximating that. The dollar is not always the key driver of the business cycle, but it's one of the key drivers of turning points. Bitcoin has been priced on ISM. So implied Bitcoin pricing and ISM. So Bitcoin is priced for a weak business cycle right now. But guess what, children? Our financial conditions index, which is the dollar, rates, and oil, screaming higher. screaming higher, and it leads ISM by 9 months. And that tells us ISM should go up a lot. So that means you guys are all going to start earning a bit more money. Your businesses are going to do a bit better. You'll feel a bit better. I think rates will lower a bit somewhat as well. And overall, the global economy will get better. There'll be more demand for risk assets. This is what drives alt season. I know it doesn't feel like that now, but that's what's coming. You say we can never have an alt season again. You can't have an alt season really with the ISM below 50. Once it goes through 50 on the upside, you get alt season. Why? Because people have disposable income and they end up investing further out the risk curve. Happens in small cap equities, happens in emerging market equities, happens in all sorts of things. It's the same risk curve. It's all to come. So just have patience with this. I think it's started and we will see a dramatic shift in what's happening, particularly after the tariffs get agreed and what we find is people stop freaking out. And those of you who think it's not, Bitcoin hit an all-time high today. So of course it's going to plan, but your alts aren't yet. And so therefore you are miserable. And that's because you've made the wrong selection so far. Bitcoin's up 100% since we called the start of the banana zone. It then had a nice correction. It's now at all-time highs. So the banana zone is paying out perfectly. Correction phase 1, the first move. We had the first move. That was the last quarter in 2024. We then have the correction phase, the correction phase, the correction phase. Then we go into the banana zone next phase, phase 2. So liquidity gushing, dollar falling. All of those things, positive. Liquidity. Let's look at the greatest chart of all time. Trump came in 2017. The world freaked out. Oh my God, we've got this nutcase as a president. He's going to nuke everything. He's going to come with tariffs. He came in and said the dollar's too strong. Genius. Why? Because the dollar makes the world. And what happens is the dollar fell over the first year strongly. What happened this time? We said this before the dollar peaked. We said it's going to repeat the same cycle. And it did exactly as we said. And not only that, it's falling faster than last time around. And you see these wiggles. So this up move we had very similar up moves in the dollar as corrective moves back in 2017. And then it keeps moving lower. That moving lower is what is increasing global M2 because it's in dollars. It's also increasing or lowering financial conditions or increasing on our charts, which means financial conditions are getting easier for people because of the dollar. Foreign nations can roll their debts. Corporations can roll their debts. That means everybody has more dollars to spend. More excess spending equals a faster economic recovery, higher asset prices. So the dollar is in this beautiful cycle. The dollar is the largest, most important macro variable on earth. Nothing comes close. The dollar is 87% of world trade. It's how the US adds and withdraws liquidity to the global system. It's how all commodities trade. It is the big daddy. And what we had is the dollar had been in a very sideways range for the whole of 23, 24, 25. Then it started weakening. It got the most oversold. It got 3 standard deviations oversold. And it's somewhat bounced since. Now, why do we care about that? Because every time it does this, the 12-month gain after a drop of that magnitude is huge. Everybody wants a weaker dollar. Scott Bessent wants a weaker dollar. Donald Trump wants a weaker dollar. A weaker dollar is the key to making the world go round. And when it happens, things like Bitcoin go apeshit. So the 12-month gain after a large drop in the dollar, 119%, 175%, 592%. These are big deals because a weaker dollar is a change in the denominator of most assets. The S&P 500 also tends to be a very positive thing.
비트코인은 이미 고점을 한 번 더 넘겼으니 알트코인이 폭발할 차례라고 이야기하는 라울팔. 그의 말대로라면 정말 과거처럼 큰 상승이 반복될 가능성이 높은데요. 하지만 제 채널에 등장하는 전문가들은 대부분 비트코인을 좋게 이야기해야 하는 위치에 있는 사람들입니다. 고객 자금을 굴리고 있거나 회사 자금으로 비트코인을 구매한 사람들이 많기 때문이죠. 시장에는 정답질은 없습니다. 그럼에도 많은 투자자들은 리스크를 감수하고 돈을 벌기 위해서 비트코인 시장에 뛰어드는 것이죠. 하지만 급등락하는 비트코인 시장에서 급등과 급락을 반복하는 차트를 보고도 개인 투자자들이 욕심과 공포를 떨쳐내고 평정심과 내 자산이 우상향을 하는 것은 말처럼 쉽지가 않으실 겁니다. 저 또한 전업투자자 생활을 오래 했지만 항상 좋은 자리를 기다리고 인내해야 수익을 조금씩 낼 수 있었습니다. 그래서 저희 트레이딩 팀에서는 어떻게 하면 일반 개인 투자자들도 투자 시장에서 수익을 낼 수 있을까? 구독자분들께 어떻게 하면 조금이라도 도움을 좀 드릴 수 있을까? 고민을 하다가 구독자분들도 비트코인이 명확하게 상승 추세가 나왔을 때만 투자를 하실 수 있게 한다면 수익이 조금 나지 않을까? 라는 생각을 하게 되었는데요. 제가 전업 투자를 하면서도 개발자로 오래 일을 했기 때문에 저도 써볼 겸 유료 결제를 해서 결국 만들었습니다. 바로 비트코인이 정말 신뢰할 수 있는 상승 추세인 건지 횡보인지 하락인지 알 수 있게 도움을 주는데요. 지금 보고 계시는 건 비트코인 차트인데요. 제가 빨간색 네모 박스로 표시해둔 곳을 보시면 주황색 61선과 파란색 121선이 교차하는 구간에서 추세가 변동되는 걸 보실 수 있습니다. 실제로 지금 비트코인은 최근에 61선과 121선이 데드크로스 하방 교차하면서 조정이 나오고 있는데요. 저희 팀에서 운영 중인 채널에서는 보시다시피 2월 25일부터 줄곧 비트코인 하락 관점을 말씀드리고 리스크 관리에 대해서 말씀을 드렸고 많은 분들이 도움을 받으셨습니다. 물론 데드크로스가 난다고 해서 무조건 하락하지도 상승하지도 않습니다. 저희 트레이딩 팀에서 개발한 알파빗 지표는 약 8개의 고급 추세 기준과 트레이더들의 노하우를 담아서 차트가 상승할 확률이 높을 때 신호가 나오도록 개발을 하였습니다. 그 결과 저희 전문 트레이딩 팀 또한 판단에 도움받을 정도로 만족할 만한 놀라운 성과를 보였습니다. 시중에 유료로 팔 수 있을 정도로 가치 있는 지표이지만 저희 비트포브 영상을 시청해주시는 구독자분들께는 무료로 제공해드리기로 마음먹었습니다. 저 또한 며칠 밤새 테스트하며 어렵게 만든 지표이지만 구독자분들 성원에 힘입어 저 또한 도움을 받고 있기 때문에 어렵게 공유드리기로 마음먹었습니다. 초보자분들부터 경력이 오래된 트레이더분들까지 굉장히 큰 도움을 받을 수 있는 지표라 도움이 되실 거라고 자부합니다. 그리고 또한 투자자라면 항상 있을 수 있는 시나리오와 리스크 관리를 해야 하며 저희 트레이딩 팀 또한 2025년 비트코인 전망과 알트코인 포트폴리오를 분석해두고 시장에 임하고 있습니다. 2025년 비트코인 전망과 알트코인 포트폴리오를 분석해두고 시장에 임하고 있습니다. 신청 방법은 하단 더보기란과 고정 댓글에 나와 있으니 많은 신청 부탁드리고 도움 받아보셔서 이번 하락장에서도 모두 성투하시길 바라겠습니다.